was handling tantrums and meltdowns. So I thought that this has to be a session. Although we had done something similar in the past, something called conflict resolution, that was a detailed three session thing. But again, this in this session also we will. It's not like we will have like a magic solution at the end of it, but we'll definitely have uh, a little more understanding on how we can better approach these situations, because I think for the first 7 years, tantrums and meltdowns are a big part of it, and it might come down a little for the next 3 to 4 years if we are lucky, and it will go up again in a very different and stronger form once our children goes into puberty and uh, teenage years. So it's very important that we understand what kind of action we need to take in the moment, because that's what matters. Now the other day, LinkedIn, I came across someone who wrote that she had everything prepared, and a mother, she had her work prepared, she had to write something, and she just planned to drop her child off to school and then she would just get her work done. But that drop off led to a 30-minute meltdown, and that just came out of the blue. And the ending was like both of them landed up in tears, son on the swing, she in the car. And and this is a person who knows what is co-regulation, who knows that what is required of her, but even then we fail in that particular moment. And that's why I think today's session is important. We will do some reflection, we will do some journaling, and we will also try and understand 2 3 key concepts. Sorry, 2 3 key concepts related to the subject of meltdown and tantrums. I think we will start, but before starting, all of us are, I think, coming from our work days. Sorry, and we will take maybe a minute to ground ourselves down and bring ourselves here. So we'll focus on our breath, nothing fancy, we'll just focus on our breath, and we'll be here, we'll bring ourselves in this moment. We'll try and understand our intention behind coming for this session. There are about 250 people in the group, and us, like 7 8 people, we showed up. There is a reason why we have come here, and we need to go back to that intent before we start to understand the session. So we'll, in our own ways, we will just bring ourselves here. We'll take about let's say a minute, whatever it takes. We'll calm ourselves down, we'll bring ourselves here. Till then, I'll just share my, I'll admit people and I'll share the screen. To everyone who just joined, thank you all for joining in. We are just taking a minute to bring ourselves fully here in the session, finding our intent behind joining today, and we will start in about a minute's time. Can everyone see my screen? I would need a yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So this is a clip that I had sent in the group, but most of you have not seen it, I think, because many people joined in after that. We'll just see this because this is the crux of what we are going to learn today. So, what what do you think is that video trying to show? I I mean, once we saw, some thoughts might have come into us. What are those? A few of you, if you share, it would be a good starting point to the discussion. You can share in the chat box also. It's not, I mean, if you cannot speak, it's okay to share on the chat box as well.
Like offering warmth and love on certain such times helps.
Right, right. So it's basically the temperature gradient, right? Like the person who was melting down, whether a child or not a child, was burning, and then he or she needed the calm or the cool of another person to come to the stable situation. And that's what we have learned in, like, in our very early physics sessions also, right? That there's a, if there's a temperature gradient and the hotter person and the colder person, then we come to a balance. So there is a term for it, and it works beautifully whether the person who is not regulated, who is in, who is in a tempered uh, situation, whether that person is an adult or a child. So there's a term for it. Does anyone know what is that term? What is this term called when someone borrows the calm of another person to calm down? Anyone? Yeah, homeostasis. Homeostasis is the state that uh, we are striving to achieve, activation of the parasympathetic nervous system. But what is the modus? What is the operation or the modus operandi that is working behind this coming to that parasympathetic nervous system for the person?
A regulation.
Co-regulation. So we adults, if we have developed fully, we are capable of regulating ourselves on our own. But children, they do not have the developed nervous system. They do not, the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, develops the last, and it is also the smallest part of the brain. uh, Through our evolution also, that is the part that has developed the last. Our reptilian brain, or the brain which puts us into this fight flight status, is the most primitive, and that's the one which has helped us, survived us through everything. So that gets activated very fast, and that is developed also much before than the prefrontal cortex. Prefrontal cortex starts developing very slowly before 7, and it only gets completed now. The latest researches are showing up to the age of 25. So the childhood actually stretches from 0 to at least 21 years till the this rational part of the brain is not developed. No, that is the architecture of the brain. It does not mean that anyone who is having a developed prefrontal cortex would be able to regulate themselves, because there are other things that help or does not help. So the this term that children need from us when they are in that state is co-regulation, which is they need to borrow from our calm parasympathetic nervous system to help themselves calm, get into that parasympathetic nervous system. to get calm, to calm down. And this is what becomes the most difficult task in that moment, for us to offer our calm. And calm means not a superficial calm, not a calm with with not a calm while rushing to do something. It means, like, did you see that the whiter penguin, how he or she wrapped the the smaller one in her arms? So it basically just being fully present and allowing that calm. Now that's what it becomes difficult in that moment. uh, I have faced it multiple times. Not that I can do it every time I am going through, my child is going through a meltdown or a tantrum, but at least I am at a situation where I'm in a situation where I can go back and reflect. We will look into that part also. So, first thing that we learned today is something called co regulation. So, our children cannot calm themselves down if they are uh, in a dysregulated state where they are yelling, crying, stomping their feet, rolling on the ground. Asking them to calm down, sending them off to a corner, uh, punishing them, threatening them, these things do not help at all. It only makes them more dysregulated. What can happen over time? The symptoms can calm down, because the child might just feel that there's no point, nobody is, they do not understand. So some children can become much angrier, and some children can shut down. So these are the two defense mechanisms that we tend to take, depending on the inherent temperament of the child. So we need to understand that we need to put ourselves also in that position. If we felt that the opposite person is not understanding me and I want something, that it's essentially, it becomes that only, na, meltdown or a tantrum, that child is trying to tell you something and it just does not make sense. It does not make sense, and we just cannot give into that. Now if we put ourselves in that situation and we feel that the other person is not able to understand, how would we feel if that other person starts punishing or starts judging us or starts you know uh, just asking us to calm down? This is not a big deal. Like, let's say you are pissed off with your boss and you come and you try to tell this thing to a friend, and the friend says that calm down, it's nothing. How would it feel? It wouldn't feel good. We are not children, we would probably not start throwing a tantrum, but deep inside it would hurt us somewhere. And it's the same thing with children. Only thing is, because they do not have the architecture yet, they are learning how to regulate, how to become a functioning social entity, they will react in very different ways. So, any question at this point? What I'll do is, I will take help of a presentation. Okay. Yeah, I will take help of the presentation. Can you see my presentation? Yeah? I would need a yes or a no. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Yeah. Yeah. A verbal yes would be better, because I'm always not able to see my screen while handling the presentation. Just give me a 1 second. Okay. Yeah. So first thing, I think we will learn what is. Anyone knows the difference between meltdown and tantrums? Both are not the same. Anyone? How is a meltdown different from a tantrum? I'll tell you why do we need to know this, but we need to know this, and we need to be able to understand in that particular moment that whether it's a meltdown or a tantrum. So, so anyone who has any idea what is a meltdown, how is a meltdown different from a tantrum, can chip in. No, no one.
Maybe when the child is really overwhelmed, that is a meltdown. And when the child demands for something particular, like a toy or something, that creates a tantrum.
Right, right. Now, do you think that meltdown and tantrums have connection? One thing can lead to the other?
Possible.
Possible, right? My child says meltdown is when you feel sad. Your child says this. Wow. And when you want something and then get, yeah, yeah. So you all are pretty much right. So meltdown is very much goal oriented, and sorry, tantrums is are very much goal oriented, and meltdown is when we are like the children, or even we can also melt down. But children, what happens if they are overstimulated? When they are overstimulated by something, by their environment, by their day, by their maybe lack of routine, by what they have eaten, certain food they create, they stimulate children, they stimulate the nervous system more, certain packaged food and all. So then what happens is the children goes into a state of overstimulation or overwhelm. Now why should we know this, and how it is very important that we know this, because how we manage the situation will depend on whether it's a meltdown or a tantrum. One is goal orientation and the other is overstimulation. So what do we do? Any idea, any guesses?
Can you please repeat the question?
So tantrums are basically goal oriented. So as someone said that, when I want something, I will do something, I will maybe yell, I will cry. I will try to basically assert myself because I am small. I have no other way. I take this path to assert myself. So I want something, I throw a tantrum. And meltdown is basically I am overstimulated. My nervous system is not able to make head and tail of my surroundings right now. I do not know what to do in this situation. And I am upset. So how do we act in both these situations? Because they are different things. Our strategy cannot be the same in both the situations.
Yeah, I think during tantrums, firm and boundaries will work. And during the meltdown, we have to be with the child. Anyway, we have to be with the child in both the cases. But there, the strict boundary will work. And in meltdown, I think there's no such boundary case. What I'm assuming.
Yes, you are right. You're absolutely right. So meltdowns is basically the in the moment. So there are some after work that we need to do, but in that moment, the child needs our warmth. And for tantrums, the child needs our warmth, but there is a certain boundary setting. So there is firm but kind behavior from our side. And in meltdowns, it is just trying to be with the child, being empathetic and helping the child. And it happens very fast in children also. If we are doing this right, if we do not let the children go into like an overdrive in a very frequent manner, it works very fast. Like, you try to hug the child because they are still small. When we can touch them, we can hug them, and they will just plop into your arm and they will start feeling better. What happens is sometimes when the child is melting down, things get tricky. Why I asked that, do you think one thing lead to another? Because they are not really, they do not happen in isolation. What happens is when we are melting down, it is very very it is very probable that the child will start throwing tantrums also. That's when it starts getting tricky. So I'll give you an example. The other day, when my child comes back from school, so I will greet him at the door. That's a regular rhythm. I'll greet him at the door. I'll give him a hug. I'll just, he will talk something. He'll say something about the day, and we will chit chat for 5-10 minutes. What happened the other day? He came back from school, and I was on a call, and it was an important call. I smiled at him. I came inside, and I finished my call in 5 minutes, and I went back outside. He was rolling on the floor. He was in tears, and I understood what happened. I tried. Now he's 6, and if he tries to exert his physical strength, he can. So I tried to go near him. He was rejecting me. And then what happened? He ran to the fridge. He took out a chocolate, and he said, "I'm having this chocolate. I have to have this chocolate right now." He knows that he does not have chocolate. It was lunchtime. So what happened was, the meltdown quickly spiraled into a tantrum. And that's when things... 1 minute, I think I have some... That's when things start becoming very tricky. So what do you think? I mean, and that's when we also start losing our cool, right? Like, now it's okay. I'm coming to hug you. I'm coming to, give you what you need, but you are rejecting it, and now you want chocolate. So, that's when our temper starts rising. Anyone agreed to this? Anyone been in this similar situation?
Yes.
Right?
I've been.
Right? So this is when things start get tricky. So we'll see what do we do. But this is very important to draw our attention to this fact that, okay, this started with a meltdown, but it is going into tantrum now. Now what do we do? so this is where we will have to do some self work, which I will talk about later. So I just want you to note down that meltdowns can give rise to tantrums very easily, and that's the trickiest part of providing that calm for helping our children come back to the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So for now, you just note that down. One second. Yeah. So this is basically, I could not, some things I have just put my notes as it is, because I just could not put it into a slide. So see, this is basically our worlds. So our children, they have basic needs. They have the need for secure attachment. They have the need for relational rest, which means that they should not have to perform to feel loved and accepted in the relationship with the parent. They should have the freedom to express themselves, and there is a need of spontaneous free play in the first 7 years. So these are the 4 basic needs a child has. These are taken from Dr. Gabor Mate's research, and they are also in a phase where their world views are developing. So they will try to test boundaries all the time, how far we can do. So they will do very weird things, like, I'm taking example from my own life. It's like, my son knows that, when we have pistachio, we will take out the nut and we'll throw the shell in the dustbin. But all of a sudden, he just starts throwing it around the house, just for the fun of it. So then he tries to test us, right? That how far can we go? And this happens many times. So, I know that I am allowed chocolates only on weekends, but let me try. Today is Wednesday. Let me just throw a tantrum, and, let me just see if I can have a chocolate today. I'll try crying. I'll try doing something. And they do not, it's not that because they have an intention to, the intention to trouble us. It's because they are trying to learn where is the end of it, and this is how they will learn. It is a part, it's very important to understand that this is a part of their learning. And so when we understand that these tantrums, these kinds of behaviors, now if I would label my child as unruly or brat, bratty, you're just throwing things everywhere, you should not be doing this, why are you doing this? We put a label to the child, and when we put a label, we know that the child probably will adhere to the label, because the child does not know who is he. Once we start calling the child bratty, lazy, bossy, uh, whatever, whatever things that, and nothing else is coming to my mind at this point, the child does not have a sense of who he or she is at this point. So when we call them all these things, they understand, okay, so this is who I am. I'll tell you a very short example. I was sitting in a therapy for myself, therapy session. So some discussion led to something, and I described myself as a short-tempered person. So my therapist asked me that, why do you think so? For the first time in my, I think I was in my 30s, early 30s. So I really did not have an answer to this, that why do I think so? And then I understood that it's because I have been called short-tempered all my life by my parents, by the immediate circle around me. And I believed I'm short-tempered. Now, when I believe I'm short-tempered, I just kind of, I have the right to lose temper, right? Because I am short-tempered. So, it is very important to understand that the children, they are learning. It's a part of the learning. And that's where we need to be very mindful of, even if we do not say it out aloud, are we thinking it? We need to be aware of it. So this is one part. So their worldview is developing. And what they are continuously trying to understand is that am I safe? Am I safe here? Am I safe? Am I loved? Am I acceptable? So it's nothing else. We just need to know what is happening at the behind. So the first session that we had on Beyond the Behavior last time, there we talked about understanding children, and where Shubha ma'am talked about the developmental phases of children. We see the behavior. We see that the child is throwing things, biting us, hitting someone, but we do not see the developmental need at that point, why the child is doing this. It's a part of the journey. And one more thing that we need to understand is that every time a child misbehaves, like does something which is not socially acceptable, we also need to understand that this is not the end of it. Like my child at 6 is throwing pistachio shells across the, all over the house, does not mean he will do it at 21. It's very important for us to anchor ourselves in that thought. We tend, when we react in such situations, it's typically out of that conclusion that, oh, this is what it is, but this is not what it is. So that is also something we need to understand. And our children learn through imitation. Our next session is going to be being imitation worthy. So we will talk about that in detail. But this is something we need to understand for now. So this is about the child, but who are we? So we have our own responsibilities. We have our responsibilities towards ourselves, towards our work, towards our home, towards the society. We have a certain developed worldview. We have the tendency to operate out of a certain core belief. There are 3 or 4 patterns in our beliefs that are there, and they form the crux of how we react in a situation. I would not say respond, because response happens when it is not just it just not comes out just like that. It's a well thought out response. We react. When we react in certain situations in certain way, that's basically is stemming from our own worldview. What is that? So that is something that is a part of our self-work. But this is who we are. It's not to get into any complexity of our personalities, and there are some triggers that we have. So let's say the incident, we will go back when my child was in a meltdown because I did not greet him when he came back from school, and then immediately as in within like 2-3 minutes, transition happened very fast. He wanted and grabbed the packet of chocolate. Now, what is triggering for me in that moment that made me lose my temper? I mean, it's hypothetical, but if I lost my temper at that point, what is that trigger in that moment that happened? Typically, it would be like, I am not able to manage this situation, I'm not capable. And then I get frustrated that, I tried to do what is written in theory, I tried to hug him, I tried to comfort him, but it's not working. Look what he's doing, and after all the effort that I've taken, and blah blah blah, we'll go into that thing, and we get frustrated. So what triggered me? My incapability in that moment. We thought, at least the thought, the perceived incapability. So these kinds of reflections are required for us to better understand that what is happening in that moment. If anyone has any question, this would be a right time, I feel. I think I spoke a lot.
I want to just ask,
Yeah.
what was your reaction? How did you behave when your child was throwing pistachios
Nothing.
that
I did
time?
not pay any attention only. I was like, we have to clean it, huh? He said, I'll clean it. He knows that it is not to be done. He's just
Yeah.
testing me that, I have to do something. If I react or I connect with him, I'm like, na, ye nahi karna hai. He smiled at me very sweetly. That mischievous smile. And I said, फिर clean कर देना. बोला हाँ मैं कर दूंगा clean.
Yeah.
हो गया, matter sorted. So he's 6, but this probably, it might not work at a 3-year-old or a 2-year-old. So there, as you as the parent will have to tune into the situation. कि अगर 2 साल का बच्चा, वो तो ऐसे, मतलब जैसे माई चाइल्ड, ही इज डूइंग टू इट टू काइंड ऑफ ट्रिगर मी, बट एंड टू सी कि क्या क्या होता है इससे. 2 साल का बच्चा विल डू टू सी क्या होता है, बट फ्रॉम अ वेरी डिफरेंट, ही रियली डज नॉट नो प्रोबेबली क्या होता है. So we show him in a funny way that, we pick them up, we put it in the dustbin, and that's how we do it. There's nothing
But
to
then
be.
do you also correct him later that this is not the place,
Ha!
so that he doesn't?
Absolutely, we do it. We do it very softly. We do it firmly. We do it softly, but we do it. Absolutely, we correct. So correction, boundary setting has to be done from the very beginning. So there is no question about that. Only what happens is that most of us have kind and firm. These two combinations, they do not go well within us from our own experiences. At least for me or the people with whom I have talked to. I mean, there could be outliers who had better examples. But for us, for me, it was like firmness. Firmness always meant, being rude, shouting, or some sudden actions, punishments. But that is not what we should do. That does not work. That works at this, again, like if we have diabetes, are we taking insulin or are we doing lifestyle changes? So that's what, like shouting, yelling, hitting might do something in that moment for a few years, because they are not going to stay little for very long. They are not going to be this person. They are going to grow up. They are going to have their own thinking, own circle. So if we are not able to maintain that kindness on a consistent basis, I'm saying, like, we are also humans, we will lose it sometimes, and there is something we can do about that as well. There is no point in, we don't have to feel guilty if we, once in a while we lose it before our children. We are human beings, we have so many things to do, and that's absolutely fine if we lose it also, but not on a consistent basis, not as an established system that this is how it works in this house. You do this and you get shouted at, you do this and you get hit upon. So if that happens, then that's the superficial level of treatment that we're giving, not a bottom up approach. So now we will come back to this thing, that tantrums, as we already discussed, that tantrums is the time when we acknowledge that, okay, you need the chocolate, and maybe I mean, it could also be possible that chocolate makes us feel better, right? In that moment, my son was not feeling better, and the brain knows. Why do we go out for chocolate when we are feeling sad? Chocolate consumption, more than 85% of the clientele of these big chocolate brands are adults, not children. But why do we consume chocolate? We tend to go to chocolate because chocolate makes us feel better, and now his brain also knows that, chocolate makes me feel better. So maybe that was his instant, response, that, I will have, the body just said कि मुझे chocolate चाहिए अभी, and I will feel better. So we need to acknowledge that you want to stay in the park for 5 more minutes, you want chocolate now, or I don't know, I can see that you really want that toy, and I can totally understand. It's very important that we acknowledge the need. It's very, very important, without judging, without labeling, because there is something that is going on inside, and we need to acknowledge that. But if it is not something to be given in, we should not give in. And that's where our own anchors come into the picture. Finally, it's all upon us, and we will see how it is. And meltdowns is find a safe, quiet place. But this is where I want you to think, where is this place? Which place is this safe, quiet place? And I would want a few answers, like, what do you think this safe, quiet place is?
For the child,
For the child.
the mother, obviously.
Yeah,
The caregiver.
The caregiver, the mother, the caregiver. Right. So this is not a physical space. This is not a corner. You would see. So the problem is, we see so much content these days. They will say that you need to keep a cozy corner. A cozy corner is nice to have. There is no doubts about that. But we do not need a cozy corner in the house to calm a child down. Or we cannot also have a cozy corner and send the child to calm down himself or herself there and then talk to the child. That does not work. So the safe, quiet place is us. So the parent, the grandparent, the caregiver, whosoever is present in that moment. And that's, I mean, once the child has found his or her way back, then we can talk that, whatever the situation was. Like in this case, when my child finally calmed down, I had a little talk with him that I'm sorry, I could not. But us time, I mean, at that point, if I would try to explain myself, and it would not have worked. It does not work. What also I have seen happens is that we try to keep the situation under control by trying to tell the child what to do intellectually. Like, calm down, रोना बंद करो फिर सब समझ आएगा. It does not work. It will never work. रोना बंद करो, you calm down. It is a futile command at that point. We have to help the child to calm down, and then we can talk. अच्छा क्या हुआ था? What was it? How did you feel? अच्छा नहीं लग रहा था. Sometimes it can happen. Simple things like, I will tell you, one time we were in Kerala. My son was 3 years old, 3.5. And and it is very common actually. You go on a vacation with a toddler, with that age, like a preschooler toddler transition. And we are like, in a vacation mode, and we are dressing up and everything. And my child is in a full on meltdown. Like and meltdown is he's frozen on the ground, like on the hotel room ke floor pe. He's sitting down and he's crying his heart out. I could understand what was wrong, and I was able to, give him the calm. But I have also seen two things. When we are in a social situation, when it's not just you and your child, when there is families and friends, when the child starts behaving like this, we start feeling conscious. It happens. Like, are they judging us? I mean, am I losing it? Am I losing control? What's happening? Then we start losing our calm. So, and then obviously we know where it goes. But we have to understand, any social situation that is not very familiar for a child can put the child into meltdown. And that can be a beautiful place like, Kerala also. Like, it does not matter whether it's Kerala or whatever. I mean, the child, what happens is, it's just he's overstimulated by all the changes. He has done such a long journey. He's staying in a new place. The food is new. There are other people who are coming and saying, oh, hi. Everyone is trying to gain attention of the child. And he's overstimulated. And he has no other way to express himself. They will go in a meltdown. So, it is very important that I will talk about a few things that has helped me over time to bring myself, like reorient my, just give a shake in that moment, that okay, this is it, this is not what you are, where you are going. The people are not thinking anything. Even if they're thinking, it's okay, does not matter. It's first I have to calm my child down in that moment, and then it will become easier basically.
I have a question.
Yeah, yeah, please.
So, for example, in a situation when we are trying to calm the child and the child is still continuously crying and it happens for a long time, but we are there with the child's feeling, we are trying to acknowledge the child, we are asking in between, do you want water? Are you okay? Do you want to share what's happening? And the child is just crying, crying, and not saying anything, and it's taking quite long. And you are also thinking it's been like a lot that he's crying. So in this situation, I had been there even for 20 to 25 minutes, hugging him, being with him. But sometimes I think, isn't it too much? What should we actually do
What
so that we
age?
can
What
shorten this
what age
time?
is the child, if I may
Four
ask?
and a half years.
4.5 years. It's still small. It can go up to 20 minutes also. So, and there's nothing wrong. So what happens is, I'll tell you, if you are hugging the child, right?
Yeah.
And if you are, as I said, that if we are not actually calm and superficially calm and
No,
thinking,
no,
oh my
not
god,
calm.
when will this end, when will this end, you will. So what happens is, in that moment you are not able to see it, but your heart rate is going up. Okay,
Yeah,
you,
that's not the case with me. Yeah.
है ना, तो it happens. So I mean, we, what happened, children, they perceive our energies also. So
Yeah.
they perceive, it happens so many times. And it's not just me. See, sometimes we have, we have movie plans after after the child will go to sleep, we'll watch a movie. So I have seen it happening multiple times, and not just me. Then we have discussed, and then other people also. Like, when the time when you want them to go to sleep fast, they are jittery in bed. They have had a long day. They are tired. They had full tummies, everything. But they knows that something. They know that something is off today. My mother's energy, my father's energy is not same. They will they will toss and turn in the bed. They will take long time to fall asleep. So how, the key is to understand how do we stay calm, and calm is like actual calm. So that is something we will discuss. And there is actually no time limit. If it is happening, I'll give you some tips afterwards also. So if it is happening often, and if you are, we need to understand the patterns. If we are able to understand some patterns, then that will also help us. So we will come to that.
It's a rare event though. It doesn't happen very, yeah.
हाँ, but I think the tantrums, meltdowns, they really steep after 3 के आसपास ज़्यादा होता है. उसके बाद it will start coming down. 6 के time फिर से it will start happening. And last session Shubha ma'am had explained, talked about a cycle, developmental cycle that we go through every 3 years. So every 3 years what happens is, our intellectual development peaks. So what happens is, we try to assert ourselves more. We try to and that's a part of the development, that I that sense of I starts coming into the picture, that I want this, I will not do this. And that peaks every 3 years. So this is a cycle you can expect at 3, at 6, at 9, and likewise. And even in our lives, like, it goes throughout the life. So we have some 3 yearly cycles, we have some 7 yearly cycles going on. And when we understand all these things, then it becomes a little easier for us to anchor ourselves also, and not like start thinking, oh my god, what's happening again. Like for my son, when he was around 6, or when he turned 6, his his patience with things really dropped, plummeted. That boy has never said that I am bored with something, but now I think in a whole day he would say it like 20-25 times. I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. Nothing is. And so when he is just, and now I know why, when he is not bored. He is not bored when he has a social connection. He is not bored when he has a friend with him, has a parent with him. He can just be with that person hours, like, and we play something, doing something. So what he is looking for, his need for social connection is not being met. And we live in a nuclear family, we work out of our homes, so it becomes hard sometimes, and with the summer vacation and all, the child always saying, I'm bored, it is a little helpless situation. But then when you anchor yourself, you bring yourself back to that understanding that, okay, I know he's 6 and this is bound to happen. Let me think what I can do, instead of क्या हो गया मेरे बच्चे के साथ यार, what happened. It starts happening. We start getting derailed into that line of thought. So understanding the developmental path also helps. Okay, so now very important, in the moment. Yeah, someone was asking something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but what if we know that this is a developmental phase, but the people around us, maybe the in-laws or bhaiya or the helpers, they are not aligned and they are think like he's crying, you are not, trying to manage things, he's getting ziddi. So,
Correct. Labels. The labels start coming in.
yeah, so the child is listening and it's all
Hmm.
is happening in front of the child.
Right.
And, so it's very difficult.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult. Honestly, I think boundary setting is something with adults. We can have a session on that. But I'll tell you what, in I mean there is no easy way to this.
No, they say like we are like now 50s, 60s, we cannot change.
I can understand that. I can understand this. There is no easy way to this. So we'll have, if you live with your in-laws, I mean, God only help you if they are not willing to change. But I think it helps to have like an adult to adult conversation. I have had that with my in-laws. Sometimes I have lost my temper also. That has happened because I was also learning, right? I was also learning, and I was in the postpartum period, and I had my own thing and going on. So it's very important that we set our boundaries, that we are trying to raise our. Sorry.
It actually took me 4 years to set a boundary for unhealthy food.
Exactly. I can totally understand, and this is the reality. And whenever we go home, I have a difficult time, and I mean, it's an ongoing journey, and I hope the parents understand that. Now we are parents and we want to raise our children a certain way. I really do not have any answer to this. It's only, I think, just if they're open enough to listen to us, maybe something will change. I'm not sure though. But again, it's a part of boundary setting. I was having a conversation with a psychologist friend of myself. Maybe let's see if we can have a session on this adult boundary setting, like boundary setting with the family. That is also
Yeah,
something we
it
need to
will
learn.
really help.
I know. So yeah, coming back to it, in the moment, the what I was saying, that the response has to match to what is happening. Now we have discussed the tantrum, we need to acknowledge without giving in. Meltdown, we have to find a safe, quiet place, and the place is the caregiver. So how do we do? The first thing is that physical touch is very important. And when the child grows up a little, they might reject physical touch in the beginning for the first 10 seconds, and that's fine, and they will come eventually. So physical touch is important, lowering the distance between us, between the child and the caregiver. So not we should bend down to the child's level. If something is like, if the child is in a dysregulated state, we need to be attentive enough to come down to the height of the child. Try to touch the child, hug the child, breathe together, and it might take some time. Let the body settle. It depends to what extent the child has, you know, what extent the child is dysregulated and how calm we can be. So it all depends on that. But what has helped me over time is, in that moment, if we can remind ourselves that what is happening right now, what I've written here in red, that this is not about you. It is not about you not being able to manage this. It is not about you losing control. It is not about you not being a good parent. Like the meltdown, when it started happening for my child, it could have been very easy for me to spiral into that guilt wala thing that, I know that he needs me. Why couldn't I take the call later? I know he was coming. I could have done that. But it's not about that. It is just that your child needs some attention and in that particular moment. So everything said and done, in that moment, whatever is unfolding, it is not about you. So what happens is, when we are attached to that thought that this is somewhere about me, we start to feel threatened. And when we start to feel threatened, our own flight fright signal starts getting, the body starts getting flooded with cortisol. We start losing our calm and all those things. So we have to detach ourselves in that moment, that this is not about me. My child needs me, in a certain way, and let me just try and do that. And also, this is something that it has come over a period of time, that this particular moment when my child is melting down or having a tantrum, it is an excellent opportunity for me to teach my child something. If it's a meltdown, I can teach him what emotional regulation looks like, what a regulated adult looks like, so that when he grows up, he has lesser trouble in becoming regulated in situations like this. If the child is having a tantrum, the child knows that it is possible to stay kind while being firm. So this is an excellent opportunity to let my child know that no matter how he behaves in front of whomsoever, he is safe with me. He is safe, he is accepted. I still love him. So if we find that this is not a negative thing, the tantrum, the meltdown, whatever is happening, it's not really a negative thing. It's actually a good opportunity for us to teach many life skills to our children. So these two anchoring thoughts in that moment has helped me a lot, and I hope it helps you too also. Like, if you can remember these two lines in red, next time a tantrum or a meltdown happens, I think it will be a little easier for you. Any questions? Any perspectives? Okay, so now the most important part, how do we stay calm? Staying calm is not a matter of willpower, and particularly if it's happening, willpower is like, we have the highest, it has actually been studied that willpower is at its peak when we are up in the morning, after, if we have a good night's sleep, that's in the highest, and throughout the day the willpower goes down. So if the child is melting down anytime after let's say 5 p.m., you cannot stay calm just by willpower. Before that, maybe to some extent, but willpower is not the solution to this, that I will stay calm. You cannot decide to stay calm. Your body has to feel safe in that particular moment to stay calm, and that is something we can teach our nervous system. So how do we do it? So this is something that you can see, that staying calm is basically an interconnection between three things that the parasympathetic nervous system needs to switch on: a specific balance of dopamine, serotonin, and other brain chemicals should be there in my blood, and a clean communication between amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, where the prefrontal cortex is in charge. Now, amygdala is very, very fast in hijacking things. So by the time a brain signal, like the chemicals reach faster to the signals reach faster to the amygdala than to the prefrontal cortex. So there is a term called amygdala hijack actually. So if someone is in the amygdala hijack, that person will not be able to think anything rationally. He or she will be, that's an extreme case of being in a stressed situation. But children can go into it because they do not have the prefrontal cortex in a fully formed manner. So their amygdala is what they have, and they are not to be blamed if they are like rolling on the mud for not, when you tell them that you have played for 1 hour in the park and let's go back. So we have to understand that. Now, how do we stay calm? We have a perfectly developed prefrontal cortex. We now understand that there are certain We now understand that our children needs co-regulation. We also understand that this is not about us. We understand that this is a great opportunity for us to teach our children. Now, how do we stay calm? It is basically a habit, like just like how do we stay healthy? We eat healthy, we exercise, we walk, and we do yoga and all those things. So for a healthy nervous system, we need to practice certain things. Like, this has been studied that 478 breathing method is something that helps to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system faster. It's basically a breath work. Second is, I mean, nothing like if we can do a full on pranayam flow for 15-20 minutes, but if we cannot do at least the hummingbird flow, that's the Brahmari. This has also shown to reduce cortisol levels within our blood. And over time, what happens? It's like building our muscles. So, I mean, if we want to stay calm in those particular moments, we also need to work on our nervous systems in a general manner, and it will help us. Like, generally, it will help us. 1 minute. Any question? I think I'll take a break. If anyone has any question, you can share right now. I'll just take a few minutes break. Yeah, please go ahead.
So we are here discussing about. Sorry, I'm Nandini. I'm a mom of twin girls. They are like 5+ years now. And before, we are trying to calm them, their tantrums, but before that, we have to stay calm, right? So at times we are so frustrated and we are venting out their anger on them, and I can differentiate when I'm venting out the anger on them. Is that because I was busy with my work? And I was in a guilty state because I was not able to spend time with them. I was in the guilty state, and that is reflecting as a vent out on them, because we are not able to vent out on others because they are elders. We can't vent out on our spouse because it will not work out. So the only thing we can vent out is the kids, because they'll say whatever we listen. So we are like what we can say, like putting the pressure on them to listen what I'm saying. You should listen to it. If I say, you should listen. So this kind of feeling, most of the time I'll be in the guilty phase. Am I not a good mom? Like, so before balancing that tantrums, we have to balance ourselves, right? So how to handle that? I couldn't understand that sometimes.
I think, see, mom guilt is a thing that I think everyone faces. No matter how much we give in, no, it's not enough. No matter how much we stay with our children, it's not enough. I quit my job to just raise my child. But even then, like, I was just with him. Even then, I would feel guilty because, I was trying to do blogging and all, and sometimes I would be busy with that, and it just felt like I'm not giving enough.
Yeah, I agree.
So it happens. It happens with everyone. And I think I read something beautiful the other day. Is like, no mother should feel guilty of not doing enough, because one thing is that we really are doing enough to the best of our abilities right now, not on an absolute scale, not on a scale where we are comparing ourselves with someone else. You have twin girls. If you compare yourself with someone who is raising just one child, and a stay at home mom with a lot of support, that would be a wrong comparison. So
Yeah.
right, so it is very important so guilt is a negative emotion, and we need to heal ourselves from it. How do we heal? We heal by looking at it, and we heal by practicing certain things like meditation, observing our thoughts, journaling, affirmation, and truly seeing that could I give more, like was there any opportunity today where I thought that I could have connected with my child more but I did not, then I'll do it tomorrow. Like sometimes it happens with me, I have a lot of work on the phone, so I have to be on the phone and I feel very guilty about it. He's seeing me on the phone. He has a no screen policy and now he is
Even
6. He is 6 and he sometimes he would ask that, you know, you are on
Yeah.
the phone, why can't I use the phone?
Yeah.
Right? So I what I can, one way is to feel guilty. Oh my god, what am I doing? And but there's no way. I mean, I'm really working. So I sit down when we are in a chit chat mode, when we both are, you know, in a nice little conversational mood. So I would tell him that, Bodhi, do you know, I have a lot of work on the phone and that's why I have to be on the phone. It pains my eyes. I have these specs, but I still have to do this sometimes. He would listen. He would not say anything. He would just listen. So we do our best and we forgive ourselves. It's very important that we forgive ourselves. You would find so you know, I in the shared folder I have also included some links to some of the YouTube channels that has helped me a lot in my own self-work journey. So there are things called somatic meditation. There are things called breath work. So I think somatic meditation is a beautiful way to release the guilt. You only need to release the guilt, nothing else, and you be present whenever you can. That's it, nothing else.
Yeah, maybe I'll work on that. I'll
Yeah,
try to
yeah,
work
it's
on it.
it's there's
Thank you so
nothing,
much.
yeah, there's nothing, and you are doing everything that you can, so know that in your heart. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So these two breathing techniques, which have researchers have shown that they actually shift our ability to come back to parasympathetic state faster. And meditation. Now, meditation is something that's a very vague term. Where do we start and everything? So first, there are basically two ways to start. One is focused attention, is that watching the breath basically, that we are just focusing our attention on the breath, and whenever we are moving away from the breath, we gently bring ourselves back to the breath. And the second is watching our thoughts and our feelings. So watching our mind and our body. The feelings live in the body. So each moment, like some hundreds of thoughts are getting fired in our mind. We watch them. So it is a process. I mean, in the beginning when you start, it might feel like everything is just going into everything. If you have never meditated, do not expect yourself to stay calm throughout the meditation. Probably your restlessness will go up during the meditation when you are starting, and that is okay. Again, a part of the journey. I think today though we have a lot of resources available online. I have also personally, the resources that have helped me, I have put it up in the group, in the shared folder. Somatic meditation, there is a channel called Somatic Meditation by Wendy Jones. It's really nice, like 15-16 minutes. It really helps you calm down. So daily we spend some time on regulating, on working on our nervous system. Some 15 minutes, anything, before going to bed, 15-20 minutes we spend on correcting our nervous system. Maybe 5 minutes 4-7-8 breathing in the morning, and a meditation before we go to bed. So this is something that it helps us, not just with our children, with everyone, with our spouses, with our colleagues, with everyone. It helps. I can tell you it helps because I have done it and I know the difference that I have felt within. Now after the tantrum is over or the meltdown is over, there are some things that we need to understand. We need, like, if it is happening very often and once in a while, it is fine. Like for my son, when he turned 6, it was happening every day. So I was like, what just happened? All of a sudden everything was good. That is the time when we need to pause and look for patterns. Like when is that time when my child is getting tense, and what was that first behavior that I could understand that, you know, something is going to go off right now. Things like that. There are many things that, so they say that before the incident, what happened, during the incident, and after the incident, we need to give some thought to the whole process, what happened. and try and understand a pattern. Like I said, that over time when I observed my son, I could understand that he was not bored. He was looking for connection, social connection. So and that's very ideal for his age. He's forming complex brain structures, neural structures within his brain. So he wants to have conversation, he wants to negotiate, he wants to share ideas, he wants to execute the ideas. He wants that thing, that's a need for him in this moment. And once I understood that, obviously when it did not like vanish, but it helped me plan things out. I actually planned play dates with friends, with neighbors. It happened that I would take him to a neighbor's place where the neighbor also had a child, and I would work from there, and they would play the whole day. The neighbor's child would come someday, and they would play, and they would he would not even come to me once through the day. Then he was not bored at all. So when you understand that what could be, the reason why my child is behaving like this, then we can plan better, strategize better. And particularly if we are in a nuclear family, this really helps, because our resources are really limited. We cannot say कि अच्छा ठीक है तुम थोड़ा दादू दादी के साथ जाके खेल लो. It cannot happen, it's just us. So it helps when you look at the pattern. And the third thing is that I wanted to do this as a class exercise, but I think because of the initial hiccup, we are really out of our time. But I want you all to, this is a journal prompt for you all. That's why I said that we should have pen and paper. So let's try and imagine the last meltdown or a tantrum that your child had. Sit down quietly, sit down in a relaxed state, in a state where you can think and reflect, and just follow these questions. What best describes your emotional state when your child was melting down or throwing a tantrum? And I mean, if it was not very positive, if it was something that, as Nandini said, that the guilt that came up, she knew that it was because of her guilt. Now what do I do when I'm feeling guilty? So once you understand, she was one step already ahead. She knew that it was because of her guilt that she was actually not in a space to provide calm to her children. Now if you are there, fair enough, you can then work from there. If you are not there, then you try and understand that did I have enough sleep, or was it because of a certain belief? Like I'll tell you, I still remember from my childhood, my mother used to say one phrase very often. She was like, you're a child, how can you have opinion? Now are we coming from some beliefs like that? Like, I'm not saying that exact thing, like there could be anything. There are beliefs like it's very hard for me to give you examples, but this is one of the examples. The other example that I have put up here, that if there are people around, am I getting stressed because I care about what they will think about my parenting or my child? It's very important to understand what that belief is, and that is the first step. Now once we understand what that belief is, it's basically rewiring your brain and telling yourself that this is probably a belief and this is not true. Our beliefs are our conditionings that we have taken up when we were children, when we were growing up, and unfortunately we did not have any control over what we were absorbing from our environment. Just like our children do not have what they are absorbing from their environment, we also did not have any control of the beliefs that we were absorbing. If we learned that a child should always be a good child, an obedient child is equal to a good child, that's a belief, that's not a fact. A child who is very vocal about her choices is a bossy child, is a bratty one. That's a belief, that's not a fact. So we need to understand that which is this belief that shaped our emotional state in that moment. And in the moment, it's not like we have to immediately act upon it. You will find your way. Once you decide to walk, you are already here. You are here because you wanted to explore the topic, and from here you will find your way through it, basically. Not sure who's trying to join now. Anyway, yeah, so I think that was all from my side. If you have any doubts, queries, you can ask. or the group is also there. If you I will share this presentation, I'll upload this presentation and probably just share the screenshot tonight of this slide, so that you can start your work of this is take this as a kind of a homework, that you need to understand what was your emotional state, because our emotional state will tell how efficiently we can manage the next meltdown or tantrum. So that's all from my side. Thank you, Nandini. Sparkly hearts are cute. Thank you. Hi, Vani.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं फिल्मोरा है ना।